What we always like to do is welcome everyone, and just to make sure, because we have a lot of guests today, is just to make sure everyone knows who everyone is. So we'll start with Jack over there. Introduce yourself.
Jack Lazarowski, and I'm a non-voting non-member of this committee. Representing the seniors, specifically the Community Senior Center, which is an organization that wraps Huntington, Bolton, and Richmond as well. So my one input in this meeting is sometimes to say, oh, what about the seniors? And then the other one is, well, what about Bolton? Given that both of them sometimes fall off.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kirsten Santor, just a member of the committee.
Mark Fossil, also member of the committee.
Kate Kreider, co-chair.
And Sherry Lynn, co-chair.
And I'm Jeff Forward. I'm a member of the Richmond Selectboard.
And I'm Jeannie Agner, and I'm on the newly developed park committee.
Yeah, I always say Volunteers Green Brown Court Committee, Project Committee.
Yes, and now it's added the round church park.
Oh, that's a mouthful. Okay,
I just say 3 parks.
3 parks.
I don't know that anybody else says that.
I like
but
it.
do.
I'm gonna write that down, Jeannie. That's a good one.
3 parks.
3 parks. I like it. Okay, so we always allow for public comments for non-agenda items next. If anyone has something that wasn't on the list that they wanted to make sure to announce or tell people about. Okay. All right. So our business for tonight, we've got a discussion with our select board members. And Lisa said, I know she confirmed that she got the agenda, so she may be getting on, but Lisa and Jeff are both on the select board. And what I wanted to start with is just doing a little bit of an overview about the rec committee, what we've been working on, reasonings behind the original change in structure, and then discuss some strategies for what's the best way for the select board and this committee to collaborate together to stay informed and sharing information in a timely fashion. So I got a little bit of help from my committee members here. Oh, look at that. Hey, Lisa. She's connecting. And it's so weird that it's just me.
So Lisa, can you hear me?
She's got her
She's on mute.
muted too.
Yeah, she might still be joining.
Sometimes there's a little bit of delay. Let's just see what the technology is doing here.
It might go through your. So why don't you could chat with her. Let's see if she can hear you.
Oh, there she is. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, and
right.
for some reason it's just showing me, but the whole crew's in here.
Oh, hi crew.
Yeah. So
I'll have to
we've
believe
got
it.
Jeff and Jeannie and Jack and Kirsten and Mark and Kate and myself. So
Oh, great. Full up.
yeah.
Yeah, for some reason the cameras aren't working right.
If you go to select, like the
It's almost like it's on a narrow field of view instead of a wide
Yeah.
one. I'm just guessing. You're really clear.
Oh, there you go. Try that.
There. Oh no, that's just me.
Oh,
That's a
that's
Zoom.
like the camera for your
Hang on.
computer.
Video settings. Oh no, I don't want that one. I want this. Yeah.
Isn't that what it was on though?
Yeah.
Ah.
Those are the only
So maybe
two.
it's an issue with the video camera.
I think it's something with the camera. So sorry.
Maybe we should all huddle together. Like I don't know, some kind of cartoon.
Lisa, I'm wondering if the microphones work. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear Jeff. Yeah. I can hear
Okay.
Sherry. And I can hear others. I'm not sure if it's just carrying through the room or whether you're on your own mics.
Huh. Okay. Well, as long as you can hear us, that's important.
Mhm.
We're just getting started. We're going to give just a little overview, Lisa, as I was saying, to the folks in the room,
Okay.
about the rec committee, what we've been working on, goals, reasonings behind the committee structure the way it is,
Mhm.
answer any questions, discuss strategies for how we can, collaborate and keep each other informed between the select board and the rec committee. And then the rest of the agenda is we're gonna have a great time with the three parks, discussion. I'm calling it the three parks discussion. There's some new information. That was the select board, voting to have a special committee get together to figure out how to what to do with Volunteers Green, Browns Court, and now is it the Brown Church?
The Round Church Green. So the
Green.
Round Church is
Yeah,
owned by the Historical Society, but
Yep.
that's
I call it the sledding hill. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I think of it as too.
And then once we're done with that, we have some specific things that we want to focus on, our typical minutes and our work plan and planning for our February snowshoeing event. And then soccer program update, and then we'll set the agenda for December 5th. So let me start with, I just want to talk a little bit about the history of the rec committee that was reestablished in 2020. And I actually remember before 2020 happened, when the select board considered going forward with making it, instead of just a Richmond rec committee, to a 3-town rec committee. I actually was on a steering committee. There were 2 Huntington reps and Bolton reps and a lot of Richmond residents that met with the Rise Vermont group, which was something that started up in St. Albans. So I think it was 2018. We met together and we did some visioning and some planning around what would it mean for the 3 towns to kind of get together and focus on community wellness. So that was the start of it in 2018, and I was involved at that point. And then by the time 2020 rolled around, they actually had assigned, even in 2018, they assigned a coordinator for Rise Vermont that helped work monthly with kind of an action committee. So we had a steering committee and then we had an action committee that kept on thinking about, okay, how can we use all of our assets across the 3 towns to, improve, what residents could do. And so it sounded like over time, there was I can't remember the first coordinator's name, but by the time the rec committee was reestablished in 2020, I think it was Justin Graham was that Rise Vermont staff person assigned to this area. And so the select board ended up, having a discussion about that and decided that it was, a way to go. And we had in 2020, the original members are over here, Mark and Kirsten, and then Kate came on, and then I came on in 2021. There was a Bolton rep, Chrissy, and I can't remember when she started. So there's always been 1 Bolton, 1 Huntington, and the rest were Richmond residents. And it was originally 7 folks. And then in 2020 to 2021, the committee worked on the mission and the vision and aligning the work with the Richmond town plan. And then there was a survey that went out to hone in on what the 3 communities wanted for recreational priorities for the community. An intern was hired also in that same time frame, 20 to 21, the first year it started. And that was to help promote, to develop what each town offers and come up with a list of things that we eventually use for the web page somewhat. There was a farmer's market, providing funds to the farmer's market and co-sponsoring the purchase of picnic tables for the library. So we have been working a lot with the library. They got the snowshoes, the picnic benches. It made a lot of sense to collaborate with them. In 2021, that's when we went and applied for what's called the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Community Grant Program, or VOREC. And it's through the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation. So they submitted, a small group of 3 people submitted, worked on the grant, 3 or 4 people, right? It was a small group, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly like Ravi and Justin and
And you, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the Rise Vermont coordinator help out with that, and Revi was the town planner, and and you were the chair at the time. And so that went to the select board because you can never submit a grant unless the municipality, signs off on it. So unfortunately, yeah, go ahead.
So, is the only select board that you've been dealing with is the Richmond Select Board?
Yeah, yeah.
So the Bolton Select Board and the Huntington Select
No,
Board have.
that was not, this was voted in, the Richmond Select Board established it
Okay.
with the makeup of the three towns, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
believe
always been like 3/5 Richmond. It's
Yeah.
always been
Yeah.
Richmond.
More
heavy.
Richmond and,
the other town select boards approve, like.
they
when someone
recommend and
joins, right?
approve
Or
who the
they-
committee
yeah.
member is.
But
So
that's the only
I put
bummer
in
they have.
a formal request to be on this committee, and then they approve it, and then it goes to you guys to make the final approval on the select board.
And when you submit a grant, do you get, do the other towns have to sign off on it?
No, it was just for Richmond. It was focused on Volunteers Green, and no, it would just, I mean, again, the focus, any kind of funding would be focused to Richmond. It wouldn't be for the other towns. The other towns, the asset to the other towns is that we're sharing community resources. Like we want Bolton and Richmond residents to come to our new forest or to the horseshoe place at the town park or, and we want to go to Bolton has a new little area. What's that called? I love that. It's
Wheelock.
yeah, it's got a great parking spot. It must be trails and stuff. And, and then we love coming, love to come to, I have fond memories of the playground and Volunteers Green. I had nephews that we played on that all the time and the 4th of July parade. So we live so close to each other that we, again, if you look at our vision statement, it's all about to provide community members with boundless opportunities to spend their leisure time, and that we serve the communities of Richmond, Huntington, and Bolton by overseeing and designing a variety of diverse recreational programs accessible to all residents, all ages, all abilities. These programs shall enhance community cooperation and resilience, encourage active mind, body, and spirit. So we improve access to recreational activities in the three towns and increase awareness of the opportunities, promote collaboration in offerings to the community, increase community engagement, cost-effective programs, guide the creation and management of aesthetically pleasing, safe, helpful, and enjoyable public areas in Richmond, Bolton, and Huntington.
Sherry, Lisa has her hand raised.
Oh, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, it's a silent hand. Kirsten, I wondered, is there some kind of a map or just a, points on a map that would point people to the places that you just talked about, particularly in Bolton, because I'm not all that familiar with where it is. And it sounds like something I need to go see.
Oh, that was a new one, Lisa. I don't think
Oh,
we
okay.
have it.
There's
Yeah.
not a map, but we did try to capture that on the website as best we could.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good
What
enough.
felt
I
a little
mean,
bit tricky was that, in each of these towns, there is such passion about their recreation
Yeah.
areas. And so just
Uh-huh.
being cognizant that there are certainly some areas that locals do not want publicized. I don't think you would put Bolton potholes on there, but that would be a good example of one that we don't want to
Yeah.
necessarily point more traffic
right,
towards.
yeah, that's,
So
yeah, it's got
if
enough
maps
traffic as it is.
existed, we linked to them. So like
Yeah.
the Trails Committee has phenomenal maps. We
Yeah.
just linked back to their
Okay,
trail
Okay.
maps, but so not everything has a map, but we tried to pick things that were fairly easily
Yeah.
searchable and that you would actually, like, we want people to go, or we okay with people going to.
And we also
Great.
made sure that the parking areas were defined. So that's something that
that's important, yeah.
we linked to the parking areas that are on the main page or something. Didn't we do
Yeah, we
that?
did with the parking
Yeah,
committee.
parking areas just in Richmond or the parking areas in Bolton and Huntington? or-
If there were other places, I don't know that we did that, but
We just linked to the parking committee has such a nice
Just
parking
Richmond.
map.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
just linked to that one.
we sent them to the Huntington webpage for things.
I don't see any of that, any links to any other.
Oh, I thought we had. Maybe we were thinking
Under,
about it.
Webpage.
community and on the recreation
I
page.
did look at that.
And then if you pick different aspects of it, so if you go to like community recreation, the third bullet down is parking for recreation use. And
Okay,
that
so
points right to the,
Consider that one your webpage as opposed to the committee.
Oh, yeah, we have a
Correct.
separate, yeah,
On
we
the
worked
town
on that.
website.
So that's something that was, again, I came to the select board meeting and I reviewed it with the select board to say, hey, we spent like 3 or 4 months coming up with, that was when they rolled out the new website.
Yeah, Katie did.
Yeah, and so we were able to make our own web page with information so that residents could go and find out, especially new residents that didn't know anything about what the community offered. So that was one of the things we did, and I know we did come to the select board to get any feedback, and that's when we found out we should link to the parking areas. So
Mhm, mhm.
I think with the VOREC grant, we did have a $30,000 select board match of that as well.
yeah.
So that was the other.
Yeah, and that was and I think the VOREC grant generally makes you come up with some kind of match or in kind.
You do that frequently.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And did you get the grant?
no,
Okay.
no.
No, unfortunately not.
So again, we went for it and we thought we had a
Yes.
great application
Yeah.
and we did. I remember we talked to Revy about, can you find out what they, what could they tell us anything about improving?
Yeah.
And I don't know that we ever got a good answer for, I think it was a highly competitive.
Why they
Yeah.
didn't choose
Yeah.
us,
So,
That's the grant that's open.
that's
now
open
until
now
December
for
15th.
December, right?
Yes.
More money this time
Right.
than they had then.
Maybe maybe that'll be the difference.
Can you resubmit?
Well, we'll get into that. We'll
Okay.
talk about that,
Okay,
Jeannie. Yeah.
perfect, great.
All right. So in early 2022, we got promoted the snowshoes, and those were purchased by the committee with grant funds from Rise Vermont. And so they're loaned out through the library, so all 3 towns can access them and reserve them. And this year in 2024, we're hoping to have like a snowshoe event and have people, take out the snowshoes, and we're gonna plan a little bit more about that later in the evening. In 2022 to 2023, the things we focused on were the 4th of July had COVID, so there's no 4th of July, and it came back. And we helped by setting up lawn games that were another purchase that we made with grant funds, I think. Is that right? Yeah. We met with other recreation committees because we wanted to understand their structure and their goals, because it seems like rec committees, there's a variety. Some people have rec directors, some people weigh in on what the program should be. There's only one example of a 3-town rec committee, and they're a nonprofit. And so we found out that it's what was it? Mad River, yeah. Yeah, because we were curious, we wanted more information about, okay, how do we really do this with the 3-town stuff? And so they were the only ones, and they had a totally different structure, but it was good to be informed. So we spent some time with that. And then in June of 2022, and this is one of our challenges. So we were told that there was money left over from a grant, I think. And so we wanted to purchase a bench for Brown's Court.
Oh, no, that was supposed to be our $500 budget that we were told that we had.
had
Oh, I
to
thought it
spend
was
it by a
grant.
certain
I thought it was
time,
grant funds.
No.
Yeah,
it
well,
was our year, what we thought was our yearly budget.
yeah, so we went to the point of, we went around and said, well, we said, what do we really want to purchase? And we thought the bench would be good in the area, like under a tree, because there's, just to, enjoy nature.
At Brown's Court.
And what happened is it never got purchased. So again, that's another one of our challenges, is like, okay, we really are not sure how we move the needle on. We thought we had some money. We thought we could make the purchase, and it never happened. So that's an area we need to work on.
That would have been May 2022.
Yeah, and I think
And Robbie was supposed to be purchasing it.
And that-
it didn't get purchased, so,
I
yeah.
remember coming before the board.
Well, we were told, it sounded like we didn't need to bring it in front of the board, that we had a line item. That's what we were
It
told
was
by
only 500 a year.
Revy. It was $500, and then we had a discussion. We said, let's get a bench at Brown's Court. And then nothing happened. And, Revy had me look at some stuff, and I said, yeah, this is fine, go for it. And it never got purchased. So, again, there's some processes that don't seem to be, either we're not clear, or something about purchasing at the end of the year is maybe too late. Maybe the purchase has to be before June. in order to get the money out. I have no idea because Revy left and I don't know what happened. Just hang on a second and we'll get back to that because the money thing, yeah, that makes sense to say, okay, what's the best strategy? And then, so purchasing hiking poles, I told you about that. So we did that in 2023 and luckily Kate was able to purchase them and then it was taken out of the equipment funding line.
Hanging poles and some like.
Yeah.
lawn Games, yeah.
Yeah,
for
and
the
so we
library.
collaborated again with the library. They thought that would be a great purchase. Then we met with ARPA in January 2023 with our request. And again, the playground and some other things were there. And I know, Jeff, you had said that some of the things can be purchased through the equipment line or the maintenance line. We had a cleanup day on May 5th of 2023. That was a lot of fun. We had some families that came and helped us. It was a safe place to, we tried to move the sand. That was a bit of a mess. There was a big sand pile
Gave
there.
up on it,
And
yeah.
we just said, okay, that's too much, but we cleaned up the area. People had fun. It was just a way to interact with community. The webpage was done to inform community members about what's going on and what's available. And then we had the playground inspection done in May of this year. And then the July flood came. We all know what happened there, but it was great. It got fixed. We had a second inspection just to check what was going on with the hole there. Yeah, and it sounded like everything was okay.
It's better.
Yeah,
It's better because it all got pressure washed.
yeah, yeah. So,
So it's in better shape than it was before and there's more wood chips.
yep, yep. And it does look good. It looks like it's up to the part, that was too low. The
Recommend that's not the best way to maintain it is with a flood, but
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but that's what happened, right? And then we learned that the ARPA committee would not be funding the new playground, but you started a new public engagement project, the 3 parks. And so to come up with what would be covered. So we've been working on volunteer greens improvement, outreach and education, recruitment of members and fundraising. And our greatest challenges are, redeveloping a committee from the ground up because you had a big hiatus between when was Richmond, then nothing, and then this 3-town thing started in 2020. Determining what is and is not feasible based on community desire, funding, land use limitations, the floodplain neighborhoods. Because we know Browns Court, people are sensitive that live there about people being around that area and noise and,
do you have any idea what the trailers are up there?
the trailers.
Trailers where?
It's
Graham?
Boy Scout things.
Are they
think.
Boy Scouts?
At Volunteers Green?
There are.
At Browns Court?
Browns Court, there's like a storage trailer, like
Huh.
Are they Boy Scouts or are they
I-
the
Well, it
mountain
could
bike
be the
stuff for the
school.
school?
might be the
I
school.
think sometimes the PE teacher at the elementary school stores like the bike trailer there,
Yeah.
if they're biking there.
Hmm.
But they're not biking right now because my kids are in that school. So I don't know. That might not be his.
I'm not sure they asked.
Yeah.
Do that.
Well, that might be something the neighbors might be upset with. I don't know. I mean, do you think the neighbors upset with that?
The kids go and bike there. I don't know. They did biking earlier in the fall. They're not
Yeah.
doing it now.
Okay.
So
Also a
We had
shed up
several neighbors come
Yeah.
to our first meeting, so do you want?
Yeah, yeah.
They were
there.
just
They'll be
asking.
active.
Yeah.
Were they concerned?
No,
Oh.
no,
They enjoyed.
No,
the
they were-
park, They enjoyed.
Oh,
activity.
oh they yeah.
Very-
good.
Okay.
and one of them was the PE teacher's mother.
Okay.
Total bias, right?
Just
Yeah.
to let you know, but I
Yeah,
think he used that especially during COVID
Yeah.
when
okay.
Definitely more during code. And the
Yeah.
preschoolers go there too, I know.
So how many people from the neighborhood were there that,
Martha and I, and
Oh, she lived up there in Browns Court?
she lives right across the way, and someone else who lives.
was that
right
that
behind
walk
it.
around you did, or was that something else?
Well, we never made it to there.
Oh, okay.
So our first meeting, they were via Zoom
Yep.
attended and,
Oh, good,
so,
good.
yeah, they were. Well, I mean, Martha is part of the senior
Yeah.
group, and so she was just,
Yeah.
do you know what's gonna happen there? Well, no, this is our first meeting.
Right.
And,
Right.
and Velma, was there.
Yeah.
To represent Brian's opinion, the PE teacher's opinion.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the other neighbor, I don't remember who it was,
Yeah.
but hers was back back to. And I know, they said,
Oh, Velma lives up there now?
no, she was just there.
For the teacher.
For the
She was there
teacher.
being the
Okay.
phys ed teacher's voice.
Yeah. Nice.
To know what was gonna happen there.
Okay.
Yeah, because the
Oh.
school does utilize that.
Yeah.
The others, the last challenge that we have is being intentional with project selection and recognizing community passion around certain areas, which necessitates a lot of community engagement. So I can give you a great example of that is, with the playground, we have gotten a certain number of emails and public comments about the type of design that people would like to see in a new playground. A lot of, I think the emphasis has been on kind of natural play spaces or, I don't know quite how to describe it. Is that the
Natural
best?
materials.
Natural materials, kind of like the Bristol treehouse thing was an example, and there were a couple other examples. So there has been a kind of, it seems like the people that have come to us have been interested in that and less so of the typical thing that we see with the metal and the plastic type of things. So our plan was always to raise funds and then, because we had a good sense of how much it would cost and then engage the public in a lot of conversation about, what were the priorities, what were people looking for? And then you ask the companies to present to you what they can do with this criteria. So that was always the plan, which is why we asked ARPA for the 200,000 or 250. I can't remember. Was it 250?
How can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how can I be helpful? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we would be interested because it was a little discouraging that we thought we had like a no-brainer with the playground. And so, if you do have some feedback on, where that went, that would be helpful. Yeah.
So typically the way proposals come to us and, ARPA is a separate thing. So
Yep.
Is everybody familiar with where ARPA came from? You know where it's like this 1.2 million?
Oh, yeah.
that was
Mhm.
dumped on
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
That we
And you
get
had-
to use in any way. that we want.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, in some ways, it's careful what you wish for because it's harder than it seems.
Yep.
To try to
Mhm.
figure out what kind of public process to have, how to make decisions.
Yep.
And how to allocate that money.
Right.
Right.
And you should know that it's not done.
Right.
This is,
Are you guys still meeting?
We don't need to meet.
Okay.
What we have done, what the ARPA committee has done is went through this extensive public process.
Yeah.
Like a lot, we had, 500 or 600 different individual comments, suggestions.
Hmm.
We sorted them out into different categories. Recreation was a big one.
Yep.
And then specific proposals came to us with very specific, this is what we want to do and this is how much it will cost. So your proposal is different. This is said, give us the money and then we'll figure it out. And that's.
That's not really what we're saying, but but I guess that's how you're perceived it. Yeah.
Well, it's so like. Playground equipment can be a lot of different things, as you say, the metal versus
Yeah.
the natural wood
Yeah.
versus big versus small. One thing about the metal thing that's good is it's still there.
Yeah.
After the flood, it's still there.
Yeah.
I was really actually surprised at how sturdy it was.
Yeah.
Because it had a lot of, it was right in the middle of the river. But whatever. So what's different is, what was different about your proposal is it was it's a list of about maybe a half dozen.
Yeah.
dozen
Of
things.
this is what the costs are.
What the costs are, but there was no specifics about what exactly those were gonna buy, other than, if you give us as much money, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Is that an accurate representation?
I would say,
I'm not trying to mischaracterize.
yeah, I would say that the estimate was accurate and reflective of what it would cost to replace the existing structure.
Mhm.
So the 250,000 was what it would cost. And all we were asking for is if you provided the money, we would have the public engagement to come up with the final design.
But you didn't, so you didn't present us with an estimate of cost from any company.
No, that's not, that we didn't want to do it that way. Because we knew that the public needed to weigh in on what they would like to see, the elements.
What I'm trying to say is that's backward from every other proposal that we got.
Yeah, but I just don't see how we could do it any other way. I think that the community would be upset if we just said $250,000, this is what we're gonna do.
No, so what the other proposals were is they got community engagement and community, and that's why this committee was formed. Is do the community engagement first, and then presumably you'll come up with whatever it is that you think should be done. And then present, this is
Yeah.
how much money we need in order to do that. So that was the whole purpose behind.
Yeah, we had enough.
Parks Committee, I like that.
Yeah, our idea, Jeff, was there was enough time for us to have the public engagement. If you were able to provide the okay for the grant, we would have done the public engagement and we had plenty of time because you didn't have to obligate that money until 2025 or
And it's not
26.
done. So it's not, that money has not been obligated.
Right.
So the process is not over, and you still have the time to do that. You know, and what we, one of the things that I'm hoping is that you will work with this committee to figure out your public engagement and what it is.
Well, we were pushed out of it, Jeff. So let's get real here. You pushed us out and said, okay, let's get this special committee to do public engagement.
So that's not the way I perceive it.
That's the way I perceive it.
It's also not unusual
Yeah,
for playgrounds to be funded in that fashion because there's so many variables with playgrounds that you can, I mean, Jeannie and I met with the consultant the other day. There are so many different ways that you can go with a playground. To have an overall budget is actually a far more easy way to go about funding a playground. And we set a very healthy budget based on my professional experience. And all of those numbers came from my professional experience and hard numbers off of different websites and stuff for things like benches and whatnot. So no, we didn't get quotes, but the prices are there online. So those were really easy to pull. And then the playground again came from literally having experienced playground builds personally.
So my experience on both the select board and the school board and being the facilities coordinator for the school district is that we get proposals for amounts of money for specific things. And then there's a decision-making process where you say yes or no. Or maybe it should be this way instead of that
Yeah.
way.
And so,
We haven't done that yet, and it's not over.
yeah, and I would say, Jeff, that we're used to the raising fund grant application where you put in a proposal, this is what we need for a budget, and then you move forward with implementation and getting the actual cost from the vendors. So it's two different processes. So that's what the VOREC grant was. It was the best estimate based on a professional who works in the recreation. And then we would hopefully get the money and we would go through the public engagement process and then get the bids. And so it's just two different ways of
And I'm
doing
not
it.
suggesting getting bid, prior to having a budget, whatever the budget may be. Because why would anybody bid on something?
Well, they would. Yeah, they would. Everyone bids on, yeah,
Everyone wants their money.
yeah.
But bids are good, something on a letterhead from somebody saying that this is what this is and this is what it costs.
Yeah, and to be clear, we were asked to come to you with the ARPA committee with what we were working on, which is what we did. We said, these are the areas we're working on. This is our process. I think it was very clear. I think the memo said that we would ask for the money, we get public engagement, and then we would go about the
Were
design.
you aware of the public response to that?
To
your proposal and
No,
and to the alternative proposals?
no, we don't have, no, we just,
It was all over Front Porch Forum. and
Well,
I
we
got-
got
I
a
got
few
dozens
specifically
of
to
emails.
ours, but I don't know of all the responses to the other.
No, I
things
think
that
people were
suggested in the ARPA
confused.
committee.
They were confused
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
were upset. That we got a lot of comment back.
But that wasn't because of our proposal.
It was because of Volunteer Green. So it was specifically because of Volunteer Green, and there, you're aware that there was a competing proposal.
Oh, yeah, because we had Kara come and present with the woman, I forgot her name, the UVM student. So we involved them, we were collaborating, and so it just sounds great, a lot of stuff.
Her proposal, kicked up a firestorm and
But that was her proposal.
well, that was a proposal that was out in the public, you know?
Yeah.
So, Lisa, did you get any of those emails on the Volunteers Green proposals? Because I sure did.
But yeah, you're
you know,
muted.
I didn't read the Front Porch Forum. I have tended to not read that unless I have to, but well, no, only because I feel an overwhelming urge to respond, and I know better than that, but I can't help it. So I know it's whoever wrote it, you know, they probably have an opinion. So it's not necessarily objective or informative to me. You know, I mean, I can be swayed by something that I really shouldn't let myself be swayed by. But I don't recall that specifically, Jeff, but I know generally, yes, there was a lot of what's the right word for it? A lot of chat about the consequences or the process. You know, people did seem to be questioning that, not necessarily against it, but questioning it. I don't know, I guess they felt not left out either, maybe a little bit surprised, caught unawares, I think would be the right way.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone was surprised if they were just talking about the playground, because we've had it on our
What's
agenda.
different about this time around than how this committee has been formed in the past is that you have had a very tiny budget about minuscule, and you haven't used it a whole lot, and in part because there hasn't been good communication between the town and you guys on what your ability is to use that.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
You know, I think that's
Yep.
fair, and frankly, we had quite a bit of discussion about that last night, at our meeting last night, is where there are opportunities to get your input on the money that we have already allocated.
That would be great.
towards,
Exactly, yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're at. That's a great solution is
What
if
was
you,
different about ARPA, you know, ARPA is a completely different thing, you know, it's, you know, when you're starting to talk about, you know, you were talking about a $500 budget, all of a sudden we have a $1.2 million budget.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing. It's not tax money. And it's, you know, it creates a different pressure.
Yep.
You know, a different pressure on you, a different pressure on us.
Mhm.
And I don't think this committee was ever formed thinking that they might have millions of dollars to spend. You know?
no, but I think for the past 3 years, though, we have been focused on, let's get a new playground. So that has been our target. Yeah.
And I think that that's still on the table.
Yeah.
You know, so, I think, going forward, which I always think we should go forward. This is my name, you know.
Yes.
Um,
There you go.
Going forward, I do think that you ought to work closely with this committee.
Yep.
And come up with, what it is that you want.
Yep.
Already I'm starting to hear, ideas and proposals out of this committee.
Yep.
And out of, and your proposals. There's
They're
something,
merging.
there's something there
Yeah.
that can work. I don't
Yeah.
know what it
Right,
is.
right.
My point about the controversy is that there was a considerable amount of controversy that I got, in not just Front Porch Forum, but personal emails about what? Oh my God, you've committed to do this, that, or the other thing on Volunteers Green. Stop, desist.
Yeah, but
But
I
that
guess,
was the
Jeff,
proposal.
it's
That didn't
not
come
our
from us.
proposal that caused
All I'm
that.
saying is that we reacted to that.
Yeah.
What, the way we
understand, yeah.
reacted to
Yeah.
that is that we need a robust public process
Yeah.
in order to get input.
Well, we agree with that.
Yeah.
We agree with that, Jeff.
So,
And that's what we were trying to do with just the playground. Is let's have a public engagement, but let's raise funds.
so
and
it's
then do
bigger
it.
now. So it's definitely bigger now. It's
Yeah.
three
On
parts.
part of the communication issue, I think, is you were evidently getting lots of feedback about the playground, and nothing came back to us and said, oh, wait, there's a problem. I mean, I do read Front Porch Forum. I saw random comments about the playground. Honestly, I thought it was coming from the ARPA stuff where they were talking about the fields and the dog parks and stuff. But we never heard anything from the select board that said, oh, you guys are getting a whole bunch of pushback and aren't liking what's going on. So that communication definitely.
Yeah, I think we didn't realize that you had that much interaction. Yeah.
You know, and something you might not be aware of is that over this time, in addition to the pandemic, right? And, you know, I came on the board in 2020. Over that time, we had a considerable brouhaha with the water sewer treatment plant.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Considerable brouhaha, and it's not over yet. We're working through it. We've had considerable brouhaha with the police department.
Yeah.
This has taken a lot of staff time.
Yeah.
A lot, and a lot of board time.
Mhm.
So, you know, you know, I spend 20 to 30 hours a week on select board stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to prioritize my time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yes, I apologize. I personally apologize to you for not communicating better with you. But to me, going forward, we're in a good place.
Yep.
Okay, there is money available. There's money in our budget. You know, they're not just from ARPA. There's money in our budget
Yeah.
to spend on recreation things.
Yeah.
We have, in addition to a recreation committee, we have another committee that's focused
Yeah.
on doing this. I think that's a really good thing.
Yep. Oh, I agree with that. And Lisa, I know you had your hand up, so go ahead.
You know me, I gotta jump in. Jeff, you know, I was thinking about, you know, whatever has happened, well, we've learned from it. Maybe, you know, whether it worked or not, you can always learn something from the past. And I think at this point, we've got, I look around at the people in attendance here, we've got some true experts in the field of playgrounds, in the field of equipment, in the field of managing the money flow, public expectations, and all those things. So really, we need a clear message on what we want, and we get out into the public with it. And that's what the public wants. I think they want to see someone starting to move on it. And instead of going, we think you should go this way, they're going to run to catch up, go, whoa, 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 where are you going? You know, they'll start asking questions, which is great because we'll have the answers. So that's what I'm thinking, is there needs to be the next action of the recreation effort, you know, whether it's a committee or the town or whatever, I think should be to put together a good plan to go public with what we believe should happen, and then push it relentlessly. You know, there's money for it, there's interest in it. When it's got backing and momentum, it's going to happen.
So how will you do that? So what is your plan on working together with
Well,
this committee?
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah.
My understanding was part of why this other committee was formed was because we do have representatives from other towns. And that was, I don't know, I don't want to say not allowed, but in deciding what happens with the ARPA funds, like that was an area of content or issue of some sort. So I'm having trouble seeing how all of a sudden we're allowed to work with the ARPA committee out of, well, we weren't even allocated that responsibility in the first place. And if it's just that we need to move forward and there was just misunderstanding, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify.
You know, I don't think there's, Lisa, did you want to respond to that?
Well, I guess I kind of started it more or less, but I think what we need is a coalition of people that can get this done, whether it's on this committee or that committee, or doesn't include a certain committee, or includes a committee that nobody thought of before. I don't really care. If we've got people that can get it, put a message together, put it out there, and keep it moving, who they are is kind of incidental. They'll, you know, that's not the main purpose of it. The main purpose is to get this moving and get
So
something.
again, yeah, and I agree. So we can move forward, but there was definitely a discussion about
Mhm.
the committee, the Three Parks Committee could not had to include all Richmond residents, and that's fine. Okay, but it was a little discouraging here as a Huntington resident trying to do the right thing for all three towns.
Yeah,
To be
that's
told
a
that
tough thing.
because I'm in Huntington, I
Mhm.
can't be part of the Parks Committee, but that's okay, because luckily, Jeannie, we got you. And so we are very happy that you connected with us. So we are, you know, she right out the bat started emailing us. And so I would like to move the discussion to what's happening with the 3 parks. I love the 3 parks. We call ourselves the
Oh.
3 town rec committee.
Well, there
So
you go.
yeah, there you go.
Oh,
So
I'm not sure when we meet Thursday that.
yeah,
We'll say that's a,
yeah.
Right.
So we really want to hear how we can work together and what's going on. So I'm going to turn it over to you and
well, we've only had 2 meetings and,
Okay.
and we're just, we don't even have, a chair or.
Oh, you
we're
don't?
We're not there yet. That's our
Okay.
agenda for next meeting.
okay.
And I was just trying to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
And I think a point that you made at the select board last night, or maybe Lisa, was that what I'm finding out is that there are, I jotted this down after I listened last night, that gee, the garden committee's doing landscaping, we were looking at landscaping, now I hear there's the parking committee,
Yeah.
well, we were talking about parking and.
Yeah.
So I don't think we know what our plan is, but there's, the path committee. I'm just realizing all these different committees have all done
Stuff.
pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure, what we're supposed to do yet. And I haven't even shared with my committee, like what, I just said I'm meeting with you folks tonight. to
Right. Right.
see What all you've done. So I guess I don't really know. I
Yeah.
do think, and I think I said to Kirsten when it's like, well, gee, if you already have done all this work, why would we do it? Just, if it takes us to say, we need the money for all the work that you've done. I mean, it's it's not about me or you or what committee. It's just, how can it get done? So.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know.
And well, I guess if we were really talking specifics is, I know that you had 2 companies come and look at the existing company.
Well, we had, yeah.
Just one so far.
Oh, it was just
But the other
one.
one is this Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And so I just curious, like, did they send you anything or did they give you a timeline or what did they say?
No, but I think they will. So Land Shapes built this original playground. They said that, so it's been just about 30 years ago.
30 years, yeah.
And, what I remember, and he said typically 20 years is a long time.
Yep.
For a playground.
Yep.
There's not anything on it that could be salvaged and
Yeah.
reused.
Yeah.
Except maybe one swing set that's not so high. I'm not even sure about that. So he is gonna get us a proposal. We talked about, I said, I know that volunteers are always important and it was actually totally built by volunteers.
Right.
But I know that now is a liability thing. So
Right.
Other ways that volunteers could do the demolition, the prep, the ground prep.
Yep.
And spreading the base and.
Yep.
things
Certain
like
things
that.
that-
Yeah, that might be easier because of course, there was a volunteer who led that, who was a contractor.
Yeah.
But, so it's really just had one meeting and we'll meet with another's. No, I don't have anything yet. But I'm pretty sure he'll
Yeah,
get
with
something to
any
us
of these,
soon.
the design becomes completely custom. So they have all of these different pieces that
Yeah.
they provide, and then you really just pull in, we hit this, whether it's you're pulling by the type of activity, or you're going for a certain age group or whatever it is, or a variety of things. And every design is really custom, which is normal. So that's not like an additional expense or
So how-
anything, but.
How will either committee get public input as to what the design looks like? What elements what age groups, how big, wood versus.
Yeah,
metal?
well,
How do we do that?
what I've learned is that Kirsten has all sorts of background with this. I was just trying to educate myself what's even a playground, but you guys have all.
We'd
done
have
it.
public
I mean,
meetings. Our plan was always to have public meetings and surveys and, focus groups to find out what people wanted to see
When would you do that?
after we got the money. Because again, we have a different technique than, a different process than what you're accustomed to.
They're gonna make it work. He was referencing like, oh, we have people that come in and say we have $500,000. We have people come in and say we have 30,000. Like, they're gonna make it work with
Yeah.
whatever budget it is. And
Yes.
in that sense, it's just so subjective of what you can get for that money.
So say you got 200, I think your proposal was 200,000.
That was 250. Was it two
That
hundred?
included the
That
benches
included
and.
other
Oh,
stuff
okay,
too. I
sorry,
think the
200.
Playground is
Yeah.
gonna be like 200, yeah.
200,000. So say you had that, so how would you go about, getting public input on what that would be? Have you mapped that out yet?
We would do a certain number of public meetings. We might have to, decide, I mean, we'd have to come up with specific questions. We might get some of those
Right.
questions from the vendors.
And options for
And,
materials.
yeah, and, make sure it was available, both in person and hybrid. We could do an easy survey too, to gather as much information as possible, work with the senior center to get information out, to get input, work with the school to get input.
How long would it take to do that?
Well, I think you could do it, I mean, I think you could do it in 3 months, 3 to 6 months. But that's, usually you want to have at least 2 public meetings and other ways of getting input from the community. And you might want to say, okay, well, there's 4,000 people in Richmond. And how many are adults and how many, and I did like your idea about the kids. You said something about the kids, getting the kids to, that would be just cool to have the kids involved.
I
You
was going to pay them in cookies.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, he talked about having them go down and give them,
What do you like and
what do you like and what do you want to change?
Well, they
And
did
that
that
would
with
be-
the school playground, but that's
Yeah.
a different situation,
Yeah.
obviously. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
so,
school, but-
but I think that we have enough partners to, between the senior center, doing whatever on Front Porch Forum, here's your survey, Richmond, we need your input.
It's gonna be your challenge as well, is trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So far, my experience with volunteer screen has been a very hot topic. It's been one of the hotter topics that in my tenure. And so, the way to cool it down is to make people feel like they've been heard.
Well, that's why you have public meeting surveys and,
I would do.
the
that.
walk around was a great idea. I was sick that day, but I did want to go to the walk around, but
We were
Yeah.
just looking like, what
Yeah.
is all of this?
Yeah.
And that's, just talking with you guys, emailing back and forth, and I said, well, you're already doing the playground part. That was the part. I'm wondering all these different pieces that people are looking at of other committees already. Done
what are
that
they
kind of back
doing?
work.
Yeah,
I think it's
So, I mean-
all very, it's early stages.
Yeah.
You know.
But we were given the deadline of
March.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I know like the grant that we were just talking about, that's a December 15th.
right. What did you,
I don't know if, I
I-
just looked at it. I don't
yeah,
know.
I did have a question. Was your committee at one point thinking about, blending funding, and would it make sense to look for another funding source so that you could combine funding?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either, and that was just a question that, somebody said, well, we could make the money go a lot,
Further, if you got
but
that,
not realizing, I mean,
Yeah.
it's more than $450,000, because I already had thought, gee, that's 2 of the 10 projects that
Well,
people have been
about
talking
half
about,
of
but
it has been allocated.
yeah.
But there's about half left. And inevitably, there are gonna be, competing interests, you might not know, but we're hoping to do a renovation of this building.
oh, yeah, yeah,
It's extensive. We've
Mm,
gone through
sure.
5 years.
yeah,
Of planning, and we had architect earlier this year, and we've come up with, preliminary design proposals and, a cost estimator budget of, $9.8 million.
Yeah.
We're doing extensive public outreach.
yeah,
Right, of, half a dozen this month. So that's what's been taking a lot of my time. So in addition to being on the ARPA committee, I've been on the town center committee and the select board committee, the select board, and it has taken a lot of time.
Mm.
Have you looked at the ARPA committee criteria for how to, what the criteria is for selecting on funds? Have you looked
The
at that?
Richmond ARPA,
So the ARPA committee has a webpage on the website as well. And there's a list of, I don't know, 9 or 10 different criteria that we look at. That we looked at for various different proposals.
Yeah.
And
So was ours based, it looked at that,
you didn't hit a lot of them. You hit some.
some, but not a lot. Did you have to hit a certain number?
No, this is a volunteer committee. We're, trying to figure out how to grapple with this,
Yeah.
This windfall. This
Yeah.
is like, the way I look at the ARPA money, it's like, it's an inheritance. It's an unexpected windfall.
Yeah.
And you want to invest it. I do, want to invest it in something that is, kind of a legacy,
Mhm.
legacy project, that you didn't have the money to do, otherwise. And there's a criteria about trying to leverage these monies with other monies. So the VOREC,
Right.
VOREC,
Yeah.
that would be a good one.
Yeah.
And it's much more attractive both to the grant funders.
Yeah.
And for ARPA expenditures, if you can marry it with something.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know. So that's something that you look at as okay.
Ironically, though, one of the pieces that I think we were lacking with the VOREC grant before was the tri-town involvement that I think so I work for Burlington, and Burlington did receive one of the VOREC grants. And the partnership piece, I think, was a big reason of why Burlington got it versus Richmond.
You might be able to, leverage that, so having,
Well, it feels a little ironic.
you are a 3-town committee, you should take advantage of that when writing a grant proposal. And get letters of support from each of the different towns. That would be useful. Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
So Jeannie, is
So,
there
yeah,
anything
I was gonna
else?
say, we're, I'm not sure where everybody is on our committee yet.
Yeah.
We're still figuring out what it is, what is it that we're supposed to do? What do
Yeah.
we plan to do?
And you guys.
I mean,
meet-
just sitting
I'm
here
sorry, but
thinking-
You meet Thursday, right?
we do,
This
we do.
Thursday coming up.
yeah. So, I mean, you are already, like, the playground is you're already far
Very
ahead of
focused
any-
on
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah, very focused, yeah.
Is that something that I'm just kind of asking you too? Is that just something you say, hey, there's something we don't have to focus on that?
I
don't
like
know
the
what
idea of
other-
blending the funding.
That's,
I do
yes.
like the blending funding because it makes a strong application. And then if it's something that hits the criteria more, the 9 criteria, then it might be an easy thing to say, oh, well, they got $100 grand from the VOREC, and we would know probably. Well, would we know by March? Yes, we should. We should know whether we got awarded, right?
Yeah, I don't know, when we found out last time.
Yeah.
It took a lot longer than we thought it would to
Yeah.
get a
Yeah,
response last.
it might
time.
have taken longer, but yeah. We have thought about other funding sources like the capital, thinking, do we go and ask for capital funding for a playground?
There are a number of different reserve funds.
Yeah.
In our budget that are applicable.
Yeah,
We have capital reserves. We have a conservation reserve fund that's applicable for parks.
yeah, so I guess the other question would be that I think would help us is, so how do we get better understanding of the budget that you were looking at? That is something that be applicable to looking at making a request for a playground.
Well, I mean, it's gonna take research, it'll take research on your part it's all on the website,
On which website is it?
the town website.
The town website on your
for
budget?
the ARPA money? Is that what you?
We have an
or
ARPA
the-
page for ARPA money, there's our budget, if you look at.
Yeah.
Within our budget, we have capital reserve funds.
Okay.
This is a year old,
Okay,
but we're going through, so the timing is for future knowledge.
Yeah.
The timing of how the town creates its budget.
Yeah.
Is we're going through the budget season right now.
right,
Okay, we have 3 meetings a month.
Yeah.
Right now, one of those meetings is a budget meeting for this, I'm talking about the select board. October, November, and December.
right,
We create our budget over that period of time. It gets voted on in January, and then that's done.
okay,
Okay, and after that, if you come and ask for money after that, we can't do
right,
it. You might be able to, at town meeting, go, oh, I'd like to increase the budget by doing this.
Yep.
remember Tom Lebeck did that?
Well, I can't do that, but you guys can do that. You guys can do that.
You know, I don't think it's the best way to plan it. You know.
Right.
Right.
But you know, we have a number of reserve funds and the way that those get expended, so like the land trust
Yep.
came to the select board, first came to the Conservation Commission.
Yep.
Because you have to ask the Conservation Commission first. They're the gatekeepers for the Conservation Fund.
Yeah.
Then they ask the select board if money can come out of that fund for a particular purpose.
Right.
Like the Gillette Pond Dam.
Mhm.
You know.
Huntington helped pay for that too.
Yeah, that really worked.
There was a big argument there, but they did. Yeah. I remember those days.
That kind of stuff is really helpful. We
Yeah.
also got money from the Housing Conservation
Yeah.
Trust Fund. That stuff really helps, you know, so marrying these different funding sources
Yeah.
together can really expand the pie.
Yeah. So Jeannie, I think we still are kind of interested in how we can work with your committee to get the best bang for the buck.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with blended funding, but we have to decide whether, I mean, we're a small committee, so I didn't know if there was any people on your committee that could help write the grant, but it sounds like you would rely on us to write the grant if that was the case.
Yeah, I don't even know what others'
Okay.
experience are. So Fran Thomas,
Yeah.
Denise, I don't know.
Yeah,
Denise
probably
has
not the grant
done
writing.
grant writing. I
Yeah.
don't, I doubt that anybody.
So we would have to decide, that would be a conversation we'd have to decide, but we definitely want to just keep working together to figure
It
out.
would be really good for each committee to have a member from each committee go to each
Yeah.
meeting, you know.
Mhm, absolutely.
Yeah,
And you know, the thing that you guys have going for you is this committee is intended to be a limited time offer.
right. Short time,
Short
yeah.
time offer, you know.
We would like to recruit you to come to this committee. So we already want to do that. Yeah, we would love to have Jeannie and anyone else that would join this committee after March.
So you will be around longer than that. So trying to figure these issues out in the long term is gonna be, would be really helpful,
Mhm.
you know? And it really could breathe life back into this committee, because, you know, I think my perception is that, you know, this happens with all of our committees in town. They ebb and flow, interest
Mhm.
ebbs and flow as far as, you know, attendance and who's on it or not. And, you know, my guess is that at the end of the teens, this committee had a low ebb as far as membership. And so, you know, if there were people from other towns that wanted to join, woohoo, great, let's fill out the body of the committee. And I think, you know, I wasn't on the select board when that decision
Yeah.
was made, but I suspect that was the reason. If we can get some more bodies on it, great, you know.
Yeah,
We have a-
I do think,
No,
yeah, I do think though that this committee has worked very well and hard, even small, we're very small and powerful. I believe that we've done a lot. And it hasn't been from a lack of motivation. We're very targeted. We have work plan, we have a goals in mind, we check in, we have continuity. Because people have been here for, you know, since it started. So I don't think there has been an ebb and flow within this committee. Yes, we had 7 people at one time, now we're down to 4, you know, but still, we have been able to kind of be organized and stay focused. And we always have recruitment on our list of things to do. But let's face it, it's very hard to get volunteers. You know, there's a lot of committees
Mhm.
and, you know, and there is a commitment, even though it's a much smaller commitment than the select board. We do the 90 minutes every first Tuesday of the month. We take a couple of months off. But you know, I feel that we have a good system here. And it would be great to have a win like a playground since we've been so targeted on it. And if that comes out with the relationship with the 3 Parks Committee and some form of, you know, and then again, looking at the reserve funds, never knew that before. So it sounds like, you know, it makes sense that we liaison and go back and forth with our committees. We'll have to make a decision about the VOREC grant. And I guess with the select board, Jeff and Lisa, what do you think is the best way for us to communicate and make sure, I think that I've got a really good question that someone wrote down here. To make sure what your expectations are from the select board that maybe we're not aware of, but how can we make sure that we keep the lines of communication, then we don't kind of bump into this, oh my God, they don't know what we're doing.
So we actually decided something on. this.
Yeah,
Last
okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. The dog was barking a little bit back, so I moved rooms and everything, but that's a loud bark. Anyway, I've attended a lot of committee meetings of a lot of committees in this town this year. And I've probably seen, I think there's one I've missed so far. But anyway, all the others, I think we have 14, something like that. So I've attended 13 different committee meetings and different, multiple meetings of a lot of those committees. So I've seen a lot of meetings. What has it done for me? Well, it took up a lot of my time, but I've got to see how they operate. Okay.
Yep.
I'm seeing how you guys operate too. And out of all the committees I've seen multiple times, you guys, I feel, are the most unanimous, or you're all going the same direction.
Yeah.
Different paths, sure. And that's good. If everybody's in the same path, why do we have more than one person? So I'm encouraged with that. You guys are dynamic. We can get this done. You need some specifics, to go with a plan. And Jeff's talked about some things, our site, some of the resources that Richmond has, and the people that you guys know, and the contractors. We need a contractor to be accessible for questions that come up, from now to the point of actually building something. So anytime we anytime we put information out for the public, whether it's at a meeting, not so much as a meeting like this, probably won't get out, but anything that we agree on, anything that we apply for, anything that we, say publicly that we want to do, whatever we're trying to accomplish, needs to be, what was my thought? Essentially needs to be clearly communicated. And that's where a professional, a landscaper, a playground architect, I don't know, whatever they're called, but we need some expertise handy, I guess, off to the side. So does anyone know who that would be? And I think I've heard a couple of suggestions of professionals that could be consulted, or maybe even join. Anyway, go ahead.
I know the different companies, they would send a rep, they do some of that. Is that what you're from one of the specific companies, or?
How did
or
Bristol
what do you-
go about doing it? Bristol's, that's been mentioned as a model,
As what?
as a model for,
Well,
whiz
Kristen's done a lot of
Bristol.
playgrounds.
I don't know how Bristol,
Kirsten?
Kirsten, I don't know how Bristol
So like who,
about it.
did they have
Yeah.
they didn't build it themselves, so like,
Right.
did somebody design it? Is there, somebody that could come to a public meeting?
More like
There is a
how did,
person,
Maple
um,
Street, because you were part of Maple Street, right?
Yeah, again, that was
Oh.
an allocated amount of money, and then it went out to different companies. We pulled, I think they finalized 3 different designs from 3 different companies and then voted on that. But again, the money was there first. Then it was a matter of meeting with the different companies to pull together quotes, and then it came down to a final design for each one. And then it was a vote from there, so.
This is for the city of Burlington?
No, this is for Essex Junction, the new Maple Street Park
Hmm.
that they.
Yeah, I think-
They put in.
yeah, and I think we do have a name of someone from Bristol in my emails.
Jesse give us the-
Yeah, I think I have a name of someone from
Take it
Bristol.
out, or just ask her again.
Yeah,
She'd be happy
yeah.
to give it to us.
Person that we meet with on Friday, is he a Richmond resident even? I almost think so.
Oh, that's
A
interesting.
playground,
We
Grab
have
the-
Justin, what was the
Mansfield.
Mansfield? Yeah,
Oh,
I know we threw that name around
okay,
at some
Sounds
point. I forget
familiar.
why,
yeah.
but yeah.
He did
What's
the
that name
Richmond-
again? Brad
Playground.
Preston?
the Miracle.
Justin
Miracle.
Mansfield,
And he lives in Richmond and he works for a company, right?
or
Miracle.
he's at least local. We're not
Local.
sure if he
Yeah,
lives
right.
in Richmond.
Yeah.
Another one is Pettinelli. Pettinelli Associates, the school district has used them.
Oh, this was, he's a playground person.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Um,
talking about.
That's what Petinelli does, is
Oh.
playgrounds.
Oh, they do too.
They do playgrounds.
They work with manufacturers, so this is the direct manufacturer that we're working with, so that's,
It's
I am aware of Petnelli as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it Miracle? Is that who we work? with?
Yes.
Miracle, yeah.
Well, it is 8:15. I really appreciate this transparent, open conversation. It's been great. I think it's, again, it reinvigorates my, I don't know, my commitment.
So can I make points? So last night, one of the things we discussed is specifically
Yep.
was how do we communicate with our committee?
Yeah.
How does the select board
Yep.
communicate?
Mhm.
And we are looking for suggestions from
Okay.
committees of how they would like us to do that. And
Okay.
we have 3 or 4 different proposals? This was your thing, Lisa, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So there needs to be more cohesion, or no, not cohesion, I guess, same direction on things. It's-
Um,
Yeah, so I guess what I don't want to see us do is try to pursue several goals at the same time, because we'll
Yeah.
run out of energy, so.
Yeah.
The motion is great, but once we finish the commotion, we have to be going sometimes. It's
The communication between the select board and the committee.
Yeah, so you know what we're
Yeah.
doing and you can
Yes.
tell us stuff.
And-
Yeah,
And what we're looking at is a meeting or a time for representatives of individual committees to
exactly.
come in, periodically.
Yep.
Every
Right.
6 or so.
yeah,
We're looking at spring, like January, February after the budget is put. together,
right.
Yeah, let's-
Something
oh.
like that.
Yeah, that or come to a budget meeting. It'd be the highlight of the whole thing.
Actually, the next budget
You said-
meeting might be of interest to you, because one of the things that we will be talking
Mhm.
about is our charitable contributions.
Yep.
Okay, and in the charitable contributions section of our budget, there are a number of recreation related items.
Yep,
So one proposal that Bard and I did, we spent some time looking at our charitable contributions. And we think it's too big, right? There's too many things in that. And there's some things that fit better in recreation, like Little League. Isn't a charitable contribution,
Mhm.
it's a recreational activity.
Yeah.
Frankly, Hale and Hardy is that too, in my mind. It depends on how you think of recreation, but Hale and Hardy is asking for $5,000. And it's, and to my mind, that's a recreational activity. So that will be part of the discussion on Monday, is what do we do with these different line items in
Yep.
our charitable contributions, which could make the recreation budget bigger.
Yep.
And I don't know, you may want to think about taking more ownership over that section of the budget.
yeah, because right now we were told we can recommend, but that's
Yeah, so
interesting.
you could, you can
Yeah.
take a look at each of these things, and if you have a suggestion on how
Yeah.
to use the money, you can recommend how it might be,
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know any other way to do
we'll
it.
take $200,000. Couldn't resist. Oh, Lisa, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Whenever I've got a decision to make and I don't know much about the decision, I know what the consequences will be. And I've got somebody standing next to me who happens to be, pretty versed in it. I'd be tempted to ask them. So that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you go to the select board meeting, you guys are gonna be the experts in the room. So, be clear, be forceful, and well, don't get it out of hand, but no jumping, no antics, but yeah, and we're all on the same page. So, but yeah, I think that'd be really well received. The select board needs to know these same questions that we just heard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
So, and I think that'll kind of start breaking the logjam a little bit.
okay.
I know Fran Thomas had a recommendation, I think, of what had been done maybe years ago, which I actually thought sounded like a really good idea of having a select board member as the liaison for X number of committees. And it's just the person that committee knows to go to. So instead of having to necessarily report back to the whole select board, if they have a smaller thing to talk about, or like,
They
hey,
could
is this
just
something that we
reach
should run by
out.
you guys, or they have a specific person that they're reaching out to. And then I think in addition to a 6-month or yearly report out, but
Yeah,
To have that go-to person that, so you're not questioning, you don't have to bring it up on the agenda and it becomes a, a time.
yeah,
thing
because you
for
guys have
everybody.
jam-packed agendas,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've talked about that, and the select board used to do that, so Fran Thomas used to be on the select board.
Yep.
She formed this committee.
Yep.
The recreation committee,
Right.
what, 30 or 40 years ago, whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh.
and she suggested that at one of our recent meetings.
Yep.
The challenge with that is that we've got 13, 14, 15 different committees,
And 7 select board, how many select board are there? 5. Oh,
Five.
A
wow.
lot
Already
for
A lot,
five.
yeah,
We already did like a lot of meetings.
yeah.
Yeah.
In some part, I have to say, in some part, we rely on you to bring to us. And you can get on the agenda anytime.
And we have done that, and it's worked, whether it was the web page or redesigning the board
Talk to
numbers.
Josh to get on the agenda. You can get on the agenda. And anytime, and what's helpful is something specific.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, I got your attention. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time up here. Yeah. I was just
Last
thinking,
comment, then we gotta move on to something else.
yeah, I
So,
just want to say one thing. If I'm here, at your meetings, listening and so forth, and same with Jeff, we can't make decisions. We can't give you definites unless it's already something the select board has decided, because we can't act for the select board. The select board acts for the select board, and we're just two people. So we
Yeah.
can guess, we can tell you what we think, but none of it has any force.
Yeah.
We're not the select board, so.
Yeah.
So.
understood.
And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, as a contact, not somebody to come to every meeting, just to
Yeah.
make sure that that's clear, like, just,
Mhm.
it would just be somebody you have in your corner to say, hey, this is who I need to talk to,
Yeah.
instead of
Mhm.
always getting on the agenda, because I think a lot of things we don't necessarily have to be on the agenda.
No, no,
Just a minor
Yeah.
question.
bounce
Yeah,
an
yeah.
idea off or something, so.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'd
But
be glad to
anyways-
help in that capacity.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa.
Want to contact me sometime? I've got, the town email web on the website.
What do you think about this? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All
Yeah, I'll
right,
tell you what I think.
we'll take you up on that.
Okay, I'll tell you what I think, or I'll
Okay.
tell you if I don't think.
That's great. And thanks for the budget information and
So I only
Jeannie.
have one other
Yep.
question though.
Yep.
Because we're meeting Thursday, I want to know what plan didn't, or did you get all this feedback about what? Is it something we're working on?
No,
When you said there was
so,
another, I mean, was it a band shell? Was it the,
No,
that's just, I would just wonder.
The ARPA committee got a proposal from you guys, so
Yeah.
$250,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did not act on that because we had more other things we were comparing it against.
Yeah,
And then a member of the committee, Carol Bounty,
Uh-huh.
she enlisted the help of a student up at UVM to do a completely different thing. It was completely different. I mean, and it was like quite
really
elaborate.
big, yeah,
Really elaborate.
lots of
With
stuff.
Paved paths and pickleball courts and tennis courts, and
Okay.
basketball courts.
Well, see, and
all-
that's why we're talking about each of these different
Right.
people have been investigating. That's
Right.
why I wanted to know what was all this.
And that, when she rolled that out, however she did, maybe to your committee,
Mhm.
it somehow got out that this is what we were doing. And,
Yeah.
and, I got
Yeah.
all kinds of emails of, oh my God, you're gonna pave over volunteer screen and over my
Yeah.
dead body,
Right,
it was like a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it felt like, at least from my side of the table, felt like there were, different proposals, different things, and people had, constituencies for both, and
It was polarizing, yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
wanna be.
And confusing.
Yeah.
for-
and we
And
did,
that's
res-
exactly what our
members.
committee could become if we don't,
You're right.
know,
Right. Yeah,
That's what I'm,
Well,
why I'm asking that.
I have to say, the select board did a brilliant job of appointing people to this committee. It's a really good committee. This is a really good committee that, people who have history, both, with committees and select boards in town, and also kind of political history with the town. So, I think you guys can potentially work really well together.
I do too.
And I think
that's
there
our
could be-
plan.
I think there could be a real good synergy.
And we're gonna work with the select board and you guys are gonna work with us. So hey, we're golden.
There we go.
Yeah. So, all right. So we do have to move on. And I want to thank you both
Yes.
and Lisa for joining us.
Thank you.
Really helped us and we'll follow up. It sounds like you already have another meeting with another vendor. And
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone can make the Thursday night meeting.
Oh, no, for sure.
Okay,
Tuesday.
Mark, that's great. So Mark will be on and
I'm gonna try to
And-
make Monday too.
Yeah, okay, great, on
Should
the
there even
budget.
Be a future
You're gonna be
together
busy.
meeting, or is that not?
Well, that's a possibility if you wanna, I mean,
Maybe in December.
yeah, I mean, we'd be happy to have you.
Have this,
Might
In-
work well,
yeah.
depending on.
We can invite you to the December meeting, the whole committee. And just set aside a certain number of, we only have 90 minutes, but if we need 45 minutes to go through stuff together or 30, I don't know, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is maybe talk to the group and see what they think about that. That'd be good.
We could talk more about it on Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back to these
Yeah.
guys and put everybody all on the
Yeah,
same page here.
That'd be great.
With whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Do you need to do for anything else?
No, we're great. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in.
So if
Um,
I just sit and listen?
You can listen, yes.
You're welcome
I
to sit.
wanna make sure, so I'm gonna hold off on the approval of the minutes. We can always do that in December.
Yeah,
I
that's
do
fine.
wanna make sure Jack talks about the snowshoeing thing because
Hmm.
we're thinking about February. And that was a new thing to have a day to do snowshoeing. So Jack, did you have specific things you wanted to say about that?
Well, yes.
Okay, go ahead, go.
I took the general, notion of the snowshoe activity
Yep,
to our activity committee. This
Okay.
is with Community Senior Center. And they were all, enthusiastic about the idea, where it ended up focusing was, some activities specifically for grandparents and
Mhm.
grandchild
okay,
kind of.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
necessarily
Good idea.
races, but
yeah,
think three-legged races. If you
Right,
have to have
right.
A symbol for, but anyway, the bottom line to this committee is coming out of that committee. They said, that's great. We'd be glad to take, pull our weight in each of the three towns to help pull that off.
Oh, okay, that's a great idea, so focus on, so do you envision that as, would it still be like a weekend type of, like a Saturday or Sunday event?
All I'm doing is saying, we have energy and we have
Okay.
people,
Cool.
and we'd be glad to sit down and help shape a portion of each of those activities that has
Okay,
a component specifically for seniors.
for seniors, okay. So that's good, all right, so I'm not sure how that works, but what are some other, we can just brainstorm some ideas, because we only got like 5 minutes, so we'll come back to the other stuff later, but what were people thinking about? I was thinking about school break week, which is the last week in February before town meeting day. I thought that would be good timing. You got 2 weekends and you got during the week. I just don't know, what would be a great day, and it depends on snowfall and stuff. And
Right.
and I don't know how the library, like, could we say to the library we want to loan out all the snowshoes that one day? Are there 12? How many are
So
there?
yeah.
10, 12?
Top of my head.
I can't remember how many they are, but we'd like to have that equipment, and ready. And, I mean, again, Volunteers Green is very convenient. Because you could do all sorts of like races or, fun little activities. You could hide things like a treasure hunt or, not treasure hunt, they call them something else.
Scavenger hunt?
What's
Oh,
that thing?
geocaching?
Geocaching or something like
Try
that. I mean, it would be kind of fun in Volunteers Green or even down by the sledding hill and stuff like that, And there's some other trails, aren't there? Maybe not. Maybe those are too far out of the way. But the center of town, in Huntington, you could easily do it in the town forest. And of course, the school's closed, so you get a parking area. Bolton, I don't know where the snow.
There's a specific new park in West Bolton.
Is that where that new parking lot is?
It's one of the parking lots.
Okay, yeah,
And they actually just sent our recreation committee a request for ideas about how to use their resource.
Okay.
That field. So that would be an obvious place in Bolton.
and that's a nice, easy pull
Okay.
off too.
Yeah.
And again, the school's closed in Huntington, so you get the school parking lot to snowshoe there.
Yeah.
So I think there's plenty of opportunities to do it in all 3 towns. You know, but I think you guys were saying, do we have the capacity to run it? If we have the seniors helping us out, maybe we do
Yeah, originally we were thinking last month, like, well, maybe we just do it
in one
town because we
location.
don't have many people. to
But if,
fill that.
but if it's the type of thing where we can recruit,
Yeah.
some folks, and again, we can have a focus on grandparents and grandchildren and families and,
Might make sense to do it the first time around in what seems like the easiest place to where the snowshoes are and
which is Richmond.
which is
yeah.
probably Richmond.
Yeah,
But all three towns, as far as the seniors are concerned, are
yeah,
willing and able to bring warm bodies to
yeah,
the story.
okay, yeah. What are other folks
Cookies too,
thinking?
Jack.
Hmm?
It
Cookies
could be
too.
3 different
Of course.
events, each focused on the strength of whatever area it's offered in. So here might be a more like family and grandchild relationship buildings type stuff. Maybe the Huntington Town Forest you could even do that if we had an expert or somebody that was willing to teach like an orienteering.
Oh,
on
yeah,
snowshoes.
yeah,
That could be
Yep.
really cool. And then you could do the same in Bolton or something else, or maybe like a naturalist walk, like
Yep.
each one could have a different focus. So it
Yep.
didn't feel like, okay, we have 3 events this week. They're
yeah,
all the same.
and they
And
can be
it would
different.
draw different people. And so literally you could come to all 3 and have a very different
Yeah.
experience. at all
Hmm.
3.
Yep. Yep,
I say
Yeah.
this as I might not be there.
That's
But good
okay.
luck.
But we still like the idea.
So much easier to volunteer.
You guys should definitely do that.
so Jack, how would we coordinate it with the senior center, just through you and just?
Sure.
Okay, and if they have any more ideas, I mean, we would definitely, I think you can share with the idea of like, we do like the idea of volunteers, green area with the grandparents focus here, but that we might come up with some other ideas for the other 2 towns, I think I could easily get someone to help do the orientation or
Orienteering.
Orienteering,
Orienteering with someone else. Yeah, that's
or I could get the town forester to come.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ethan I could get him to come and he could do some kind of natural, like, look at this.
Snowshoe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he
And
does.
then if we
Yeah,
just brought, if we bring
Only
hot
very top
chocolate
tier.
or cookies, like we're gonna be heroes.
yep.
Right.
Tell you, when you ask the senior center for anything for a bake sale,
Yeah.
Deliver.
I think of the 4th of July
Yeah.
table, that was the
Yeah.
senior center. That was
Cool.
amazing.
All right. Well, I know.
You to like reach out to the library to see what they think.
Yeah,
about
can
the
you do
idea.
that to see, like, is it feasible for us to be able to grab the snowshoes for like a 4-hour period of time? Yeah,
Mhm. And would it be okay if they're being used in like other towns?
Right,
Too,
right.
or they only want to use them? I mean, the people can
Oh,
take them
no, they
out
can
from
take
other
'em out.
towns
That
though,
shouldn't be a
right?
problem, but
Yeah,
you
because we
just
got
say
that
to them that we're
ordinance
gonna take them to Huntington and Bolton.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't really have to, I mean, they are our equipment.
They're-
just
yeah.
loaning out.
That's-
So I mean,
that's a
I
good
absolutely
point. Like,
ask,
we did
but just
buy
like,
the
I don't think we have
equipment,
to
yeah.
ask for permission.
Yeah.
Per se. I think we ask for what we need.
right.
Yeah.
And ask them how that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, just quickly with the meeting on Thursday, Gene,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had reached out to the gardening committee.
No, that's what after,
Trails or anything along those lines.
that's
We were
after,
talking in our last meeting about doing the same thing and reaching
Yeah.
out to these different, trying to bring it into, to coordinate some of these activities, and certainly with the things that we talked about in the walk around.
right,
Definitely crosses over into trails
yes,
and gardening as well as this committee.
parking
So-
at Brown's
Yeah,
Court.
yeah,
I mean,
parking too.
so one of the things I think that Jeff didn't say is they also talked about just having some meeting where every committee is there.
Yeah,
The select board. Did he say that?
um,
You know, just so
I
you
don't
can
think
kind
it
of
was-
hear what
Yeah.
each committee's doing. Oh, you're doing that, well, so are we, and so are we.
Yeah.
Lisa, was
that's
that
kinda
one
nice.
of the ideas, Lisa?
We could
Yeah.
do it as a potluck. We all come together and talk about what we're doing. Once a year or something.
He's looking
Okay, I had to
for-
figure out how to unmute myself. Yes, that's.
Okay,
That is it, really.
And that's a great idea, because again, I think that helps with just like, oh, we really maybe should collaborate with this committee, you know?
You're like
Yeah, I
speed
mean,
dating.
I
Yeah.
was,
Up with-
I was really hoping we could find a way
Yes.
that all the committees, almost like have a committee day, all the committees all be in the same
Yes,
place at the
no,
same time.
I'll have a
It would be a
hamburger,
madhouse.
hot dog, please. Hamburger, hot dogs, and french fries.
Well, I think when I was on the Conservation Commission, I think they did that with other conservation related
Yep.
groups. The Land Trust, they would do it every year, and it was at Cochrane's, and
Yep.
it was a potluck, like people
Yeah.
just brought
Yeah, yeah,
food,
yeah. It's a lot of fun.
presented what they were working on, and
We
mingled.
love that idea.
Mm.
Yeah.
So on that note, do we think it would be wise for the rec committee to reach out to gardening and trails to see if we have any time next month to just have them come in, not a hour and a 15 minutes, but literally just, hey, can you come by it for 15 minutes, 20 minutes and just
Well, our
give us
December,
a scoop of we can
Yeah.
exchange.
our December 5th meeting's gonna be busy because we have to plan for the snowshoe.
Right.
And we have to, well, here's the problem is that VOREC grant is due in December, and like, we haven't even decided if we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like we don't have time. Especially because we're thinking about having this committee, the Three Parks Committee, come for December 5th. So that's an idea that you're gonna run by. I just don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't get the other committees involved yet. I think we have a lot just in December, unless the Three Park Committee decides that they,
Well, that was a suggestion I was gonna make
Yeah.
tomorrow, is at least like. Look at these committee, even if it's just a call or like I did to you guys.
You
first. I said,
emailed,
"Oh,
yeah.
Gee,
Yeah.
you're all doing that already.
yeah,
I think the same. Yeah, for several other things that people have been talking about, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can do that and you, and if you,
Pass to the gardening committee or something
Yeah.
for Thursday. I know it's a little late notice, but just, send an email to them all and say,
Yeah.
hey.
well, I think we have to first meet and
Yeah.
become a committee first,
thanks, Jeff.
Yeah,
We have
it's
to-
true, you still have it.
we,
Still have a
I think,
formula.
yeah,
We'll all be there anyway.
Yeah,
So,
great.
but-
well, that's, so we can share that and.
But I think it is a good idea that there's probably stuff that we could collaborate on. But I still, so before we leave, now that I'm thinking, what are people, for this VORAC grant? Do we have any capacity to write the grant?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't looked to see what the requirements are. If I were to
Can we
do it.
submit our own grant?
Can we just change the date?
You could use a lot. You could use a lot of the old grant is what I'm thinking. And then it would be, just making sure Jeannie knows that, okay, I think we're gonna go for, 150,000, or we're gonna go for 75,000 or whatever it was. I don't know what the last grant was. Maybe that's the trick, is to go for a little lower. But the only thing is, I know I can do it. But then we have to get on the select board. What's the date that it's due?
That's true.
December 15th.
December 15th. Not a lot of time, but I guess the question would be is, do you feel that does the committee feel we should? Again,
Money, but-
I would just steal everything that was written before, and maybe if there was a section that needed something new, I might reach out and say, what do you think about this?
Just add more money. But what
So
about
that
like
board meets on the
before?
3rd and the 17th.
So we'd have to get on the third.
Fourth and the 18th.
Yeah, we'd have to get on the third to get them to approve the VORAC. And I
Which
think,
is even before we meet again.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
We meet on the 5th.
How
they
did-
meet on the
They
5th.
did offer, it was 4.5 million last time, so it's not like, it's not a huge increase. I mean,
So let me,
Is it
small
this
change
time that
either,
they have?
6 this time.
Okay.
so let me ask you this. Did you, do you remember how much time you spent on it? Usually grants, you have to spend 60 hours on a grant.
Because it was Justin and Ravi and
Yeah.
I did not, I did the monetary part. the
Yeah.
Budgeting part, but they really, actually, no, or maybe did like the initial application piece or something, but no, I did not spend a lot of.
Yeah, a lot of
on it.
time.
And then the Ravi and Justin were the ones who made it a little bit more robust.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was
They
just
really
use the old one and then see where it feels like
If
we can
there's
make it more
stuff-
robust. How do we pull in the fact that there's the matching funds and if there needs to be more, if we can
Yeah.
get, if we can pull in the towns, I don't know.
Yeah, how do we
Yeah, no,
describe the
I'm pretty
matching
sure we
funds
could say
part
that
though, 'cause we don't
matching
really,
funds.
but we don't really know how much funds. like,
It's a probably,
ARPA
it's-
will
Say
go
that
towards
that
it,
we
right?
have the ARPA
is it
funds already.
20%?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a
off the top of
done
my head.
deal. I mean, we're gonna.
So what we
have
would-
that Money to spend.
What we would say is that we're working, well, we cannot use ARPA money because that's federal money. You can't use that as a match. ARPA money is federal dollars.
And we wouldn't have time to go to the select board to
have-
ask for a match again. would
You
we?
would have to go by the December 3rd and you'd have to ask Richmond to make the match. Now Jeff seems
I
to
forgot
think
about
that
that.
there is money that could be matched.
Sarah.
Mhm.
You know, so that's where you, again, you make the grant small enough.
But
If-
he's talking about the conservation reserve fund, that's the process too. Like you have to apply, you have to go to the conservation commission and be like, hey, this
Yeah.
is what we want to do. And then they approve it, then they go to the select board. There wouldn't be enough time to go that route.
But that wouldn't be, we wouldn't have to go through conservation.
Yeah, ARPA money's.
Well, I
federal
don't know. I'm
dollars,
not
so
sure
they
exactly what
match.
funds he was talking about because he did mention the reserve funds, but
Yeah,
He did,
for the
right.
conservation,
System
but there's
here.
probably other funding too.
yeah, you can't use ARPA as match. I'm almost 100% sure.
Mhm.
And those are,
Requires a match though.
oh,
I think
That's the other
maybe
thing,
just
and
makes
so
it
that in that sense, like,
stronger.
ARPA would make it stronger. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a match.
we would say that we're seeking funding from federal dollars that came to the town in the form of ARPA money. And that might make it a stronger application. I just don't know if I mean, I know I can do it, but I'm just like, why am I doing it? Okay. Feels very rushed. It feels very rushed
It
right
does,
now.
I think that's our whole committee is feeling.
Feeling rushed.
Yeah.
So I'm
Not-
leaning
time.
towards not doing it, but I'm not opposed to doing it. I'm ambivalent. I'm
Yeah.
ambivalent.
Well,
So we don't need to vote on it, right? I can just do it if I decide to.
Yeah, so what other
Sure, why
funding
not?
sources, if any, were considered? Why is the VOREC program the best source to fund this project? But I don't think that, I'm not seeing
Yeah.
a match requirement.
Well, that'd be good.
And I don't think it has one. I don't know.
Well, I'll look at it, and I'll let you guys know where I've
Alright.
landed. And I would probably connect with Josh and say, Josh, what are the chances if we go for this VOREC grant that I can have time on December 3rd because we have to get approval from the select board to submit the grant.
mhm.
And
we
hopefully
have to
there,
get approval for a match.
well, maybe there's not a
If we don't,
match.
if we need a match.
We still need them to
We might not
approve
need
it to
match, right.
submit it, because I think Josh
Yeah.
has to submit it
Yeah.
as the town, what's his role?
Manager,
Manager. I think he has to submit it.
yeah.
A committee can't submit it. It has to be an official town person, so.
Should increase the amount of money though, that we're asking for because playgrounds have gotten more expensive.
Well, we're just looking for like a match though.
Well, that's true.
You
That
know,
doesn't matter that much, doesn't have to
I
cover
think
the
we
whole
could decrease
playground.
it and say
Yeah.
Well,
100,000
that's
or
what I'm
something.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's a
If
good
we
point.
have to have a match, we decrease it so that they only have to give us $10,000 instead of, it's, I don't know. If
I'm not
we,
seeing a match requirement anywhere, but,
Okay.
that's good.
yeah, I would
All
only
right.
say like 100,000 instead of the 250 or something.
Mm.
So,
And
it's
that-
chunk.
I think they'd be more likely.
And
to
I
fund
get,
it
I
if
guess
it's
Jeannie, if
smaller
we
amount.
do decide to go for it, we would say that we're trying to raise funding. So if you guys could seriously consider contributing the rest of the dollars based on your research that you find from the two companies,
Mhm.
then,
Well, I know the estimate that you had before, a guesstimate or whatever is absolutely what we're gonna get.
it's in the ballpark. Yeah. I mean, because again, yeah,
I
it's
do-
all,
The other thing that someone said to me is the select board also wanted a line of what maintenance would be for the future too.
and that's something
Even
the
that's
town,
your
the
job
town would
to
have
do
to
that.
commit to. Yeah. I mean,
Because they haven't for the past 30 years.
right.
But maybe that could be a role of the rec committee.
To make the
Absolutely.
ask. Yeah, no, you're right, because
looking
Lisa's
to-
talked about that, the maintenance budget, yes.
Fran,
like,
that's
speak
she
up
used to
about
be the
it,
one to
yeah.
walk
Speak up about the
around.
maintenance budget, yeah. Yeah, so then that would be the question is what kind of, what dollar amount you put in for maintenance, so I don't know.
I have no
Well, Jeannie
idea.
did ask the playground rep about that. So that
Yeah.
was one of the things that he was gonna include.
Okay.
Like,
Oh,
he
good.
Recommended And hopefully we'll remember to ask that again.
Yeah.
So
And if they, do they come up with a maintenance plan? That would be
he
even
did,
better.
he just off, spitballed some really quick stuff.
See, that would be good because then we would say, okay, for this line item here that's
Right.
called maintenance, this is what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a dollar amount, but it was the action items
Yeah.
of like every
Cool.
year you need to do
You do this,
and-
this and this.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so I will decide what I'm gonna do with the VOREC. I'll look at the grant first. I'll read through
There's
it.
also a flood recovery section that talks about recreation assets that were damaged, which I think we would have so in that sense, I feel like our application would be a little bit stronger because
because
that's
it did
certainly an
just
area that
happen.
was affected, even if it didn't result in like a
Yep.
terrible amount of damage.
Okay. So I'm not hearing any opposing to if I do it, and then I might reach out to ask each individual some questions, but I'll keep in touch with you and I'll check with Josh. I'll just see if it's practical.
If it seems feasible, yeah. Let me
I mean,
know
if I can do
help.
it in like 4 hours.
I'd have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
At least look it over and
I don't
edit it.
less.
Yeah.
I can spell check.
I have no knowledge, but I'm happy to help. from
I've
whatever
read a lot of
anyone wants to
grants.
do.
And same, I'm happy to
Yeah,
probably review it
okay,
after to
okay, yeah.
see if we can.
And I think maybe again, go with the idea that we had a pretty good grant before and we have some things that make it stronger.
We're gonna ask for less.
And we're gonna ask for less money, so maybe it won't be a big deal. Okay. All right, so thank you for that. I know we're way over time, but so December 5th, we're gonna decide, the agenda is definitely gonna be more about the snowshoeing. Because we have to pretty much be ready to go in December. We have to have a plan in place. Because we'll have to do stuff in January and then February. We have a little time in February to do stuff. And then we'll see about whether or not we want to have a meeting with the 3-part committee group. Right? Those are the 2 big ticket items. Is that right for the agenda in December? Yeah. Okay. And then if that falls through, maybe it would make sense, Mark, that maybe we could see if the gardening group would like to join us for a little bit or whatever. What was the other group, gardening and who?
Trails. I just thought because the trails, we're talking about the
Yes.
trails through the
Yeah.
park too, as part of that conversation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we didn't,
I don't know if
And
there's
there's-
any trails up near Brown's Court, back in the woods or not, whether there's anything structural there. Maybe Trails Committee would know that.
yeah.
Mhm.
What do you guys want to do about the conversation about knowing what to do with the budget items? Because we didn't get to talk about that. Did you see we got the explanations about what the budgets are, and I don't know if that was very helpful.
No.
Okay. All right.
We've seen that before.
I know they just keep giving us the same
Right.
information.
And it's
but we
also,
just-
but the narrative has changed.
What,
I
what,
think it's-
Yeah,
I think
right.
It has more meat now, though. I mean, I think there's real structure to that now.
and I know that Jeff was saying that if we have a budget recommendation, just to go and ask them.
Yeah.
So maybe that's our strategy. That's why I said we wanted $200,000, but that's a little too much
We
money.
could start to scope out maintenance costs for what we're looking at. I
Well,
don't know what that would.
can
be.
I tell you one thing that I would like to go to them about is I would like them to fix everything that was on the May inspection report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel as if that's just at the bottom of the list. We don't have a playground yet.
For the playground, for the
Yeah.
current playground.
Right,
Right,
there was a
'cause we don't know
list
how
of
long it'll be
things
till it
that were
gets
supposed to be done, and I feel like the recommendation is start plugging away at these things, and I wanna
Right.
go
Like,
to the,
why do the inspection if we're not
So-
gonna fix the thing?
Could you
I
forward
do have the
that?
inspection, and I think it's online, yes, I do, yeah.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
One too.
Yeah, but let's talk about that December 5th, because I think I would like to make a formal request, or,
Yeah.
or Kate, maybe you should, because I'm Huntington, and they're not gonna like that I'm a Huntington co-chair.
I
have a
think
question.
that you
Yeah.
should.
All right.
I do with you.
See what, here's what you think about it, though, the way he was talking about. The swings need a bigger, there was more than just what was in there, because I did ask, but I don't think I asked when we were meeting Friday, could we just get an estimate to replace the swing
Yep,
chains.
yep,
and
Yeah.
Yep.
the Cushion.
Oh, yeah,
cover.
those are
And
pinchy.
then- oh,
Yes.
They're awful.
Yes, they're off.
Then he was almost like, maybe this is not even something we want to work, but especially
He was
for
thinking
the
it's not worth it.
playground, if it would happen.
Well, I think there'd be certain things that we probably wouldn't address, and maybe the extensive mulching isn't something we would, because that would,
Maybe.
I mean, that was on the report,
Yeah.
so.
There's some,
Under the swing set to
Yeah,
put the
that
base up and to
Whole
get.
thing, yeah, was on the report,
Yes,
but that's a
exactly.
huge. Well, not really, I mean, it's just a lot of mulch.
but there were,
Yeah.
there were some slippery things where the
Some
treads
stuff
were
might make more
gone.
sense
Like
to
to
address
me,
than others.
that's something that should be
I don't
fixed.
even know if it can be fixed, though. Do you?
Right,
It's
that's- I
just-
think that's the
it's
question
in
is-
bad shape.
Because if you start to put things down, like if you start to make these fixes, then that implies that you knew about it. And so if an injury occurs, you've now altered the manufacturer's original intention of a piece, even if you've made it safer. But it shows that you knew that
Really?
that was an issue. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You could definitely get taken to court for that.
Higher liability.
But there's
yeah.
proof that we know about the issues because we have the
But
inspection.
we have the
report.
inspection report. Doesn't that make us liable?
Well, but you're altering again, like the intended use type of things, like the manufacturer designed it a certain way. Granted, how long that was
Yeah.
supposed to last is variable.
Yeah.
But you've now, like, even if you put down grippy tape or something, like,
Yeah,
you just have to be really intentional. I'm not saying that anything of that is wrong or isn't a good idea. You just have to be really careful about what and how you're doing it, because
Okay.
should somebody get hurt,
right, from the fix.
yeah,
Yeah.
then even if they got way less hurt because of the fix.
Now I don't want to make the
Okay.
recommendation.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we need to go
Right.
through and pick out certain things, like replacing
Yeah.
the chains in full. That's an easy one because you're replacing it with fully new material.
Right,
Replacing
so,
that encasing on the tire swing,
right,
that's like a fully new thing. Like that's a much easier sell than a slippery surface. And we're gonna try to address that because again,
could
that
you
gets-
possibly tell us which things are probably the best to do?
I could.
Yeah,
I could make an educated guess, yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know how much it's gonna cost.
Oh, that's okay. We're
Yeah,
just gonna go to
just know what
select board and
items
say, here are the things. Now, probably they'll say.
No,
you
but
need
we
a
could
co-
ask Justin on,
And he is from Penn.
For those
That's why I knew the
specific
name,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Or we
Well,
could,
that-
right,
That's a one-off cost though, but then also we should probably be thinking about what.
let's think, long-term maintenance is,
Continuous, annual.
Yeah.
Well, that's the picnic
Maintenance
tables
schedule.
and the
Right.
replacement of
right.
trash cans and
oh, maybe that's
All the
the
other
easier, maybe that's the easier request. To
Okay.
say, these are the things we, had in our ARPA committee budget, and you said that the line item for maintenance could cover that.
Right.
So let's fix it.
So let's do
Yep.
it.
I like
yeah.
that idea better, yeah.
well, yeah, and especially in terms of budgeting, if we ask for, because at this point, each year, we would be very easy to spend thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
On these things, because we're
Mhm.
so far behind. So I think maybe coming up with a budget amount, 3,000, 5,000, whatever it is.
3,000 in that line.
And then deciding, making recommendations based on that of this year, we want to focus on getting the playground or the swings changed out. And we're
Change
gonna
it.
replace 2 of the picnic tables that are sinking
Yeah.
or,
Yep, the
then making
sinking bench.
recommendations based
Yeah.
like yearly on what the most pressing issues are. And in 10 years, it'll look great.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no, that's a good idea. All right, well, I think we've talked it out. I need a motion to adjourn. This has been a great
Mhm.
conversation. Sorry it took so long, but
I can
Thanks for
motion.
staying the whole time.
thanks, Lisa. So who motions to end the meeting?
I can motion if you want.
Okay, Kate,
I'll second.
second. Okay, thank you all. Thank you. I'll stop the recording.